Hi friends, Teacher Cheryl here with Play to Learn Pierce County, a program powered by Green Trike and brought to you through the generosity of our sponsors and our partners. Thank you, sponsors and partners. Today's story is called The First Drawing, written and illustrated by Mordecai Gerstein. And he is imagining a time before artists were invented yet. Some of the oldest drawings ever found were made more than 30,000 years ago in a cave in southern France. In that same cave is the footprint of an 8-year-old child. Alongside it, the footprint of a wolf. Imagine you were born before the invention of drawing, more than 30,000 years ago. You live in a cave with your parents, grandparents, sisters, brothers, uncles, aunts, many cousins, and your wolf shadow. It's a big cave. You love to watch animals. You see them everywhere. You see them at the river where they come to drink. Horses, giant elk, reindeer, woolly rhinoceros, bears, sometimes lions, and more. You sit and watch them for hours. Look at all the animals. You see the grand white and gray clouds that drift over the valley. Their ever-changing shapes look to you like a parade of animals. Papa, that cloud looks like a woolly mammoth. It looks to me, says your father, like a cloud. Can you see what he sees? When collecting stones for spearheads and knives, you think some look like animals too. Mama, this stone looks like a bear. To me, says your mother, it looks like a stone. You wonder, why can't they see what I see? Can you see it? At night, wrapped up in deerskins, you see shadow images of all the animals again in the firelight flicking over the bumps and hollows of the cave walls. They seem to move. Look, Mama, galloping horses. What horses? Go to sleep. Papa, Grandpa, there on the ceiling, elk. There are no elk. Go to sleep. Sisters, brothers, cousins, don't you see the rhinoceroses? No, shouts everyone. Now, go to sleep. Does your imagination ever get so active when you're quiet at night that you have a hard time sleeping? They call you child who sees what isn't there. How can you make them see what you see? Every night you watch the animals on the walls. Then you dream you're running with them, like one of them. Oh, wow. What a beautiful dream. One morning you're out with your father searching for stones. You wander off around a hill of huge boulders. You look up and see right there in front of you, what do you think he's going to see? A woolly mammoth. It's not made of lights and shadows or clouds. You can smell it. It's warm and musky. Whoa. It sniffs you with its trunk, then stands perfectly still. So do you. You're afraid to move. It's like a fur-covered mountain with eyes that look into yours. You look back, and in those eyes you see that being a mammoth might not be so different from being you. The mammoth sighs through its trunk, and like a mountain walking, it turns and slowly lumbers away. You begin to breathe again. Papa, right in front of me, a woolly child, your father sighs. What are we going to do with you? That night in front of the fire, as your eyes begin to close, you see an image on the wall so big and so real, you sit up and say, "Yow!" "Huh?" says your father. "What's wrong?" says your mother. "Look on the wall. It looks like it's breathing." "There's nothing," they say. "Go to sleep." "But look, the tail, the tusks. Why don't you see it?" Now everyone is awake. "There's nothing to see. Go to sleep." "How can I make you see?" And without thinking, you leap out of bed, take a burnt stick from the fire, and run to the wall. "Look, here's the tail. There are the back legs." You make marks on the bumpy wall to show them where to look. "And the back, the front legs." Oh, he's tracing what he sees. "The ears, the eye watching us, its trunk and its tusks." "Stop!" shouts your father. He aims his spear at the wall. Everyone huddles by the doorway, the wide-eyed children clutching their parents' legs. "I can see it," gasps your father. "This is magic." "No, Papa," you say. "I'm just showing you." And you look at what you've done. You have made the world's first drawing. "Yes," you say, "it is magic." Now everyone can see what you see, and so you make more drawings. You show your parents, grandparents, sisters, brothers, uncles, aunts, and cousins how to draw too. For thousands of years, people keep drawing. Even today, people are still doing it, and that's how, if you'd been around more than 30,000 years ago, you might have invented drawing, and it's still magic. And here's a picture of the cave. Horses and rhinoceroses from the cave in France that inspired this story. Have you ever drawn with a burnt stick, maybe that you found at the beach by a campfire or camping? Have you ever drawn with that charcoal and seen what that looked like? I think today our activity is about inventing a paintbrush, and a different kind of paintbrush made out of nature. So I would invite you to look at maybe some of the paintbrushes you have in your house and notice that they come in different shapes and sizes. Some of them have round bristles and are bigger. Some of them have flat bristles. Some of them are very small or are very pointy, tiny and pointy for making small lines. And just to get an idea of all the different kinds of paintbrushes you might be able to see. And then I want to invite you to go for a walk and collect some nature and maybe make some paintbrushes out of nature. So you can see that a paintbrush has a handle and some bristles. What do you think if you were inventing the first painting or the first paintbrush you would use for a handle and use for the bristles? Some of the things that I found are, here's a stick of bamboo and some cedar for a flat paintbrush, and it's tied. Maybe you want to just take a branch that already has some things growing on it, like these maple leaves, and just tie them together a little more so that the brush is all together. Or like this fennel, it already has a stem and then has a different kind of growth at the top. These are actually flowers and leaves, and these would make a different mark than these when you dip them in paint, wouldn't they? Here's another idea for a tiny paintbrush, because sometimes those are really useful. And this one I did with all nature. So here's a stick and some flowers. And then I took some sturdy grass that bends really well and just tied the grass around it to attach my bristles to my handle. It's easy to do and fun, and you can use as many different things as you can find or imagine, as if you were inventing the first paintbrush. I just was using some green yarn. Here's a pine, a piece of a pine tree, and this is another stick that I found. And all you really need to do is hold them together, and you want to wrap your string around it pretty tightly so that it will stay on, and wrap it down pretty much as long as you have what you're using for your bristles. You kind of want to cover all of that with string and then tie it really well. Maybe a couple of different knots so that when you dip it in paint, your bristles don't just plop into the paint. But here's another one. This is kind of a round brush with a sturdy handle and some spiky pine needles to paint with. And each of these brushes would make different kinds of marks in the paint. So I invite you to use nature to invent your own paintbrushes and experiment with painting with them. And if you've never drawn with a piece of burnt stick or charcoal, I invite you to do that as well, because helping people see what you see is definitely magic. Bye, friends.